Hi, this is Neil Whitty with Craft Quality Solutions and Tapstar. As I'm filming this video, unfortunately, a lot of bars and restaurants and brewery tap rooms are finding themselves in the position of not being able to serve draft beer for an extended period of time. It's important, if you find yourself in this position, to make sure you take the proper steps to shut down your system properly to make sure that you don't have any issues when it comes time to start back up again. If you just leave your system sitting idle without doing anything to it, it could develop a deep-rooted line infection that could lead to expensive cleanup or even more expensive line replacement. Additionally, if you don't shut your gas system down correctly, it could lead to a dangerous gas leak in your cooler. You certainly don't want that to be happening. These steps I'm about to outline happen to be the same steps that you would take if you have a seasonal bar that shuts down for part of the year. So let's go ahead and get started. The first step in shutting down your system is to give it a full cleaning, just like you already do every 2 weeks. This can be done with an electric line cleaning pump like you see here. Or for very short systems, it can be done with a pressurized cleaning pod. As always, make sure you're disassembling and cleaning your faucets. And make sure you're scrubbing your couplers clean too. For detailed step-by-step instructions on how to properly clean draft lines, refer to the Draft Beer Quality Manual, a book I helped co-write with the Brewers Association. Or refer to my video on the same topic. Now that your lines are clean, we need to decide what state to leave them in. There are 3 options. 1, we can leave water packed in the lines. 2, we can blow the water out of the lines. Or 3, we can leave beer in the lines. I want to examine each one of these individually because they all have their own special considerations. So let's start with number 1, leaving water in the lines. At first, leaving water in the lines seems like the simplest solution since you're already rinsing line cleaning chemicals from the system. But there is one potential issue. It turns out the free chlorine found in many municipal water supplies can absorb into certain types of tubing, leading to off flavors in your beer when you go back to pour. This happens mainly with some types of rigid barrier tubing commonly found in glycol-chilled systems. So if you're going to leave water in your lines, it needs to be dechlorinated water. A quick and easy solution is to buy a few gallons of distilled water at the grocery store and use your pressurized pot to pack the lines with that. Another important note is that even though you are not leaving beer in your lines, you still need to clean your lines. Now, water doesn't have as much food for microorganisms as beer does, so we don't have to clean as frequently. It's recommended to clean your lines once a month if you leave water in the lines, as opposed to bi-weekly when you have beer in the lines. Keep in mind, if you have a glycol-chilled system, the glycol is probably cold enough that the water may freeze in the lines. So to keep that from happening, you'll need to go to your glycol chiller and adjust the temperature up above the freezing point. Remember the original setting so you know where to set it back to once it's time to start back up again. But don't unplug or turn off your unit though. The pump on your glycol unit is designed to run 24/7 non-stop. Sometimes when you unplug it or turn it off, it won't turn back on again. And then you'll have to replace it. We don't want to have to do that. So just turn the temperature up so the water in your lines doesn't freeze. The next option for shutting down your system is to blow the water out of the lines. Let's take a look at that. This is best done by first rinsing with your dechlorinated water and your pressure pot and letting the water blow completely out. We're using dechlorinated water again because no matter how hard we try, we'll never really get all of the water out. So we want to be sure whatever's left in there isn't going to cause any off flavors. While you don't have to worry about turning your glycol system up in this instance, you do still have to clean your draft lines on a monthly basis because it's still a good environment for microorganism growth. So your third option is to leave your lines packed with beer. This is a perfectly viable option. You don't have to turn your glycol temperature up. You don't have to mess around with dechlorinated water either. What you do have to do, on the other hand, is clean your draft lines every 2 weeks, just like you normally do. So you might be wondering at this point, is there an option for shutting down my draft system that doesn't involve cleaning my draft lines on a regular basis? Unfortunately, the answer is no. You might find some recommendations out there that suggest packing your draft system with some type of sanitizing solution. I wouldn't recommend doing that. You never know if there's some type of material in your tubing that's going to absorb some type of sanitizer flavor. And then that tubing is now tainted and can impart off flavors into your beer. This could be very expensive to clean up and might even include having to replace your draft lines altogether. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. So those are your 3 options for shutting your system down. But it's also important to make sure that we're doing a couple other key things that are really important. So let's talk about those, and then we'll wrap this up. It's very important to turn off the gas. Any small leak you might have could turn into a very dangerous situation over the course of several weeks. If your gas system only runs the draft beer system, you can turn it off at the source. If it runs other critical functions like a soda system that you're still using, you can turn off the gas in the cooler under each regulator. Finally, make sure you leave the couplers untapped and dry, hanging off the floor. This will keep them clean during storage. So to recap, here's how to shut down your draft system for an extended period of time. The first thing you need to do is clean your system thoroughly. Then, you need to choose one of 3 options for leaving your system. The first option is to pack your draft lines with water. Make sure the water is dechlorinated, and you'll have to turn your glycol system up a little bit to make sure the water doesn't freeze in the lines. Also, keep in mind that when you do this, you're going to have to still clean your lines on a monthly basis. The second option is to blow the water out of the lines. You're still going to want to use dechlorinated water. You don't have to adjust your glycol system in this instance. And you're still going to have to clean your system on a monthly basis. The third option is to pack your lines with beer. If you do this, there's minimal adjustments you have to make. You don't have to mess around with dechlorinated water, but you have to clean your draft system every 2 weeks, just like normal. So you choose one of those 3 options, and make sure you turn your gas system off so you don't end up with a dangerous leak. And you need to make sure that you leave all kegs untapped and your couplers hanging dry off of the floor. So that's all you need to do. If you follow those procedures, starting back up should be pretty easy to do with minimal work. For more information on that, you can see my video on how to start your system back up after an extended shutdown. Thanks for listening. Look for more videos on YouTube from Craft Quality Solutions and Tapstar.